Okay, here we are on chapter 5. And Esther chapter 5 says, ויהי ביום השלישי, ותלבש אסתר מלכות ותעמוד בחצר בית המלך הפנימית, נוכח בית המלך, והמלך יושב על כיסא מלכותו בבית המלוכות, נוכח פתח הבית. Now it happened on the third day, so this is not a complete 72-hour fast, right? Esther, she's going to do this in the middle of the day, right? So she's still fasting at the moment, but she's going to have her. So that Esther dressed herself up and she goes before the king. So she's no longer in sackcloth, right? Maybe she was keeping private to herself. So this lavash, she dressed up, Esther dressed up malchut, right? So this is like her royal garb, right? Her clothes of the kingdom. The Talmud, and she stood bevaqasha beit hamelech, in the court of the house of the king, hapnimit, in the inside, nokhach, across from, and this is the same word nokhach that we're told that Yitzchak Avinu and Rivka, when he was ye'etar, petitioning God, right, strongly asking for God for her to get pregnant, they sat nokhach, they sat across from one another like this. Beit hamelech, the house of the king. And the king was sitting on the throne of his kingdom, in the house of his kingdom, his reign, it's really something like that, across from the entrance of the house. Verse 2. ויהי כראות המלך את אסתר המלכה עומדת בחצר נשאה חן בעיניו, ברוך השם. ויושת המלך ואסתר את שרביט הזהב אשר בידו, ותקרב אסתר ותיגע בראש השרביט. So now when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, nasa'achain, favor was lifted up in his sight. So the king extended towards Esther the sharvit, that's his hazahav, the golden scepter, which was in his hand. Bialdo vatikrav Esther, so that Esther approached. Vatiga berosh hasharvit, and he touched, the inference is her, with the head of the scepter. So apparently this meant something to them, right? This was their ritual. And we have the end of that section there. Verse 3, let's scroll up. Verse 3 says, Vayomer lach hamelech, ma lach Esther hamalka, u'ma bakashtech, ad chatzi hamelchut v'yinaten lach. Very generous guy. So then the king said to her, literally to her, the king. So usually we oftentimes get indirect objects shoved in right after the verb. So that's normal. Malach, what is it you want? Literally, what to you, Esther, the queen? And what is it you seek? Until half of the kingdom, and it shall be given to you. Verse 3. Vatomer Esther, im al hamelech tov, yavo hamelech v'haman bu, hayom el hamishtei asher asiti lo. Then Esther said, again, okay, if literally it says over the king, right? So if it's concerning the king, well, let the king and Haman, boo, come today unto a feast which I have made for him. Right? So this is indicating she's going to end her fast clearly at that feast. So verse 5. Vayomer hamelech, maharu et Haman לעשות את דבר אסתר, ויבוא המלך והמן אל המשתה אשר עשתה אסתר. Then the king said, hasten, Haman, to do the thing of Esther, her request, and let the king and Haman come unto the feast which Esther has made. Verse 6, let's scroll it up. When it gets a bit low, it's kind of hard for me to see. Sorry if I'm going a bit quicker, my tablet is low bat and and it's not that long of a chapter. I think I can beat it before it needs to be charged. Verse 6. ויאמר המלך לאסתר במשתה היין מה שאלתך ויינתן לך ומה בקשתך עד חצי המלכות ותעש. So then the king said to Esther at the feast, Hayayin, Masha, I'll take the feast of wine, right? So again, it's a drinking feast, right? What? Imagine if she didn't eat it all. She must have eaten something. What is your request, right? This is from the word she'ela. It might be hard to recognize. She'ela with the suffix eich, right? The hey becomes a tav, and then that's it. Your request. And it will be given to you. And what is it you seek? Up until half of the kingdom, and it shall be done. So this is actually a niphal. It's kind of hard to see, guys, that it's niphal. It's a niphal, lamed hey verb. So the hay's gone, and the nun would have gone into the ayin as a dagish, but it can't. So instead, the short vowel chirik lengthens to tseri. Vate as. So you see that tseri there, and you know it's passive niphal, shall be done. Verse 7. Vata'an Esther vatomar. She'elati uvakashti. Pardon me, uvakashati. Granted, my Esther impersonation is not great. So she said, she'elati. This is she'ela, but with the suffix makes it she'elati. It's my she'ela, my request, like my question, uvakashti, from uvakashati, and my request. This is the same word in modern Hebrew when we say bevaqasha. It's by request. So it's really more like, we use it kind of normally between people, but it's really from like a service, right? Like you're at the restaurant and you ordered something and then the waiter brings it out and you say, toda, thanks, and they say bevaqasha, like by request, right? So, bevaqashati, literally the thing which I seeked out. Verse 8. אם מצאתי חן בעיני המלך ואם על המלך טוב לתת את שאלתי ולעשות את בקשתי יבוא המלך והמן בו אל המשתה אשר אעשה להם ומחר אעשה כדבר המלך. She probably sounded sweeter. If I have found favor in the king's sight, literally in the eyes of the king, she's looking in his eyes, favors in there, and if according to the king, it is good to give, or to give, to answer my request, and to do my request. Again, these are synonyms. Let, since it's justice force, let the king and Haman, boo, come unto the feast, which I will make for them, and machar is tomorrow. Tomorrow I will make I will do according to the word of the king. So she's had a feast, have another feast. Getting her courage up. Verse 9. Vayetzi Haman boo. Vayom hahu samech vatov lev. V'chirot Haman boo. Et Mordechai yay. B'sha'ar hamelech v'lo kam v'lo zah mimenu. Vayimale Haman al Mordechai chayma. He's ticked. All right, verse 9. Now Haman went out on that day, sameach, joyful, and of a good mind, right? Like his mood is good. But when he saw, usually when we have a kaf in front of a infinitive construct, it means when. When Haman saw Mordechai at the king's gate, and he did not arise, and he did not, this is from Zoa, like tremble, like shake before him, like he's not scared of him. Then Haman, boo, Yimale, was filled against Mordechai, yay, with chema, with wrath.